I don't know.
Is it high?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, red shirts up by the screen. Take a group picture. Mike, what's your shirt? Picture. Short guys in front, right? Short guys in front. Okay, up here.
A little bit that way so I can get rid of that. I guess I need to tie your. Yeah, sorry guys, I gotta move this table just for a minute. Yeah, just kind of taking over the shop. Yeah, pull that. Okay, that looks good. 1, 2, 3. Thanks. Thank you.
How are you? Good to see you, man. Good. You looking good? Thanks. Thanks. So are you? Man, how you been? Pretty good. Pretty good.
Did you see that? Yeah, my wife was doing that.
Okay. All right.
Go for it. Next meeting.
Well,
We get some of those notices about Labor Day is the first Monday, so next two is Monday. Some of it, yeah. Not all.
okay. I'll talk to Steve or somebody. See if they can go in. Good. Right on. Congratulations. That's gonna be fun. I hope.
I got this ready to put up. Have anything else you want me to queue up? Or?
No, I don't think so.
All right, so I got that ready.
Yeah. Good. Thank you.
I guess it's just May.
I don't order. You guys stream all your meetings on the internet?
Yeah. And record it on YouTube so someone can watch it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
So where do you put it? You have a YouTube channel? Do you put it on the church website? Or?
No, we have a website.
Oh, wow. You have separate sites for each one? Oh, my goodness. So you're going to be recording
Oh, so we don't actually have to people.
Oh,
It looked like there was three minutes.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. I thought we had three. I wanted to see who was watching. Yeah, I saw him earlier. Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah. He used to be financial secretary and treasurer for a while.
He's walking the last couple of days, but this today was video. He was always just on the island. So, yeah. He's getting it there.
right.
Yeah, one person.
Got a guy up in Sun Valley that just transferred in to the House of County Assembly. He's a honorary life. He I gave him the link. He's got to download the Zoom, and I think on his security to see if he's watching. Somehow. Okay, well, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, it pops up.
I'm here. Oh, there you are. Hey, know what you want? Like a dream? Like a dream. Not much to get there. It's so far that I've got. I don't want to page 6 must be playing rough seas. No, it's very helpful. I appreciate it.
Actually, at this time of year, I kind of expect things to fall off a little bit.
Yeah,
This time of year.
summertime and
Yeah,
people want to
people are
read.
traveling, and doing this. Now, are you sitting there?
No, I saw right there.
Right there. But that walk back, it sounds like, you know, we got the mic on now, so, hopefully everyone's hearing better. Oh, Daryl. Hello,
Phil?
I think I know what's happening now. It's coming in through the city. And then that's popping in. Yeah, because there's no mic on this. Yes, coming in on that mic. And then getting these speakers. Yeah. It's coming out on these like that. Yeah, going out that way, coming out. And then it's now, if we got those behind the mic, maybe it would get feedback or something. I got the audio. I don't get that. but then nobody else. If there was multiple people coming, these are rooms. That's what we would have to do.
How we doing on feedback?
Well, that's what we're just talking about. In order to get a speaker to go here, we have to turn that mic on. Yeah, coordination after that. So it's, is he going to give a report tonight? Okay, so, but I think that's what we would have to do. Because what happens is that just because this thing's getting the audio off the meeting.
So, how you doing, John? Is Bruce Lee in that meeting? Bruce Haney? Yeah, I don't know. Dennis? Oh, okay.
That's only
Oh, okay.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care what that person. No. It's only do it. Only do it. So you can, that's what I guess, somebody that, as soon as that person's done, we don't learn no back. Which side? And I can't turn that off. So we're sharing in the audio. Now, the other way we're matching into sounds. I know. They're talking, but I can't do that. I said, I just turn around and do the same thing again through the sounds.
Please take seats. Brothers and guests, I call this meeting to order. Please stand or kneel. Father Emmanuel, I invite you to lead us in prayer.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Almighty and merciful Father, we thank you for the gift of the new month. We thank you for this moment. We implore you to send your Holy Spirit to come and help us to bless our precious this evening, and to be to your own glory for our own sanctification and for the glory of your name. To the glory and praise of your name, this we pray with faith and ask through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Father. Please remain standing and face the flag as we pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Okay, the readings of the minutes of the previous meeting have been written, recorded, and emailed to the council. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Brother Rich?
I'd like to make a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes and accept the written published.
Motion has been presented and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion is passed. Forego the reading of the minutes of the previous meeting. I'd like to call up, we have a guest speaker tonight. His name is Irish McMahon. And Irish is his nickname. I invited him here tonight to give a presentation. He's done a pretty popular podcast, and I'm sure some of you are familiar with it. So I yield the podium to you.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Dave. This is quite a group. This is my first encounter with the Knights of Columbus. All I know about you guys is how you dress, the wild stuff that you dress like in various functions. And that's all I know about the Knights. So, but I appreciate Dave allowing me to come in here. I've got to keep my eye on the clock. I hear a lot about the clock in this meeting, and I'm not so good at the clock sometimes. So I'm here to introduce you to Wrestling with God Productions. It's a new ministry that I've formed to produce audio podcasts. How many of you know what a podcast is? Oh, great. You all listen to podcasts. My mission really is to build bridges to faith, religion, and the Catholic Church. And you may be familiar with the first podcast that kind of got me started. It's something that I've been doing with Father Len for 2 years. It's called the Wrestling with God Show. Have any of you heard that? Oh, 2 or 3 of you? Okay, great. What I'd like to do is quickly give you a little story about what inspired me to do this. It's really my story as much as anything. And then maybe ask you for a little guidance, a little help at the end, and kind of fill you in with what I'm trying to do. I'm a cradle Catholic, a husband, a father of 3, grandfather of 8, and great-grandfather of 1. Pardon?
Amen, brother.
My faith and my relationship with God for much of my life consisted of, or was confined to 1 hour a week on Sunday attending Mass. And that was a habit I picked up from my parents. And then I just transferred the habit to my family. And that's all we did, basically. And at some point, you know, life got pretty busy and life was good for me. And kids, with lots of activities and sports on the weekend. I'm a big sports fan, so I watched a lot of college and professional sports live and in person. And I played a lot of golf. And so as life went on, that little habit kind of fell away. And we stopped going to Mass. This was after our youngest son received his first Holy Communion. And I was away from the church for about 10 years. And then one Sunday afternoon, I was watching an NFL football game on TV, and it ended. And somehow I ended up watching Pope John Paul II speaking from the World Youth Conference at Mile High Stadium in Denver. And it was packed. And he really moved me. He really captivated me. And it caused me to go out and buy the book he'd just finished writing called Crossing the Threshold of Hope. How many of you have ever read a Pope John Paul II book? Not too many. They're all hard reads. They're incredibly deep. You almost always have to have a dictionary with you because his vocabulary is voluminous. Anyway, that had a big effect on me. And all of a sudden, I decided I'm going to go back and start attending Mass again. And I went alone at first without my wife. And a couple of weeks into this young guy walks up to me after Mass. And he has this little wadded up 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. He hands it to me, stuffs it in my hand, and walks away. I have no idea who the guy was or anything. It turns out to be an invitation to what was called then men's ministry at the church I was in. This was in Escondido, California. And to be honest, I was maybe even a little bit offended by the tone of the note. It was almost like he thought I was a troubled person, and I was attending Mass alone, sitting alone, and but this was the invitation to this thing, which turned out to be a little gathering on the back porch of the pastor's house. 5 or 6 guys, 7:30 on Saturday morning, my usual golf day. So I'm not exactly sure why I decided to accept this thing. But I went. I showed up the following Saturday. And it turns out this is a group of guys sitting around reflecting and discussing the readings for the next day. And they're using a little devotional called One Bread, One Body, put out by a lay ministry in Cincinnati, Ohio. And I was kind of intimidated, I must say, because frankly, I'd never owned a Bible, never read a Bible. And to be honest, for a long time, I'm not even sure I knew where the readings came from, maybe from the catechism or whatever on Sunday. And it got me, it made me realize, A, how shallow my relationship was with God, and B, how little I knew about my Catholic faith. So I went out and bought my first Bible, subscribed to One Bread, One Body, and I actually started reading and reflecting on the readings every day. This became my new habit. Every morning I would get up and I would read and reflect on these things. And it became just a super life-changing event for me. I really started to be very introspective about myself and realized that I was kind of an arrogant guy and a selfish guy. I started to realize that, you know, my wife was a saint and probably the main reason I've been married all these years. And that my main contribution probably to bringing up the kids was my paycheck. And so I started to kind of think about things I could do to kind of change things around, and started small. I started washing the dishes every night. I'd never washed a dish in my life. And then shortly thereafter, I cleaned my first toilet. I'd never done that either. And I found myself being more empathetic, more compassionate, more patient. You know, I was starting to grow a bit in my faith. I certainly wasn't holy, but I was improving. And, you know, when I get angry, I'd find it would dissipate quickly. I found myself overall happier. And as time went on, I volunteered to be the leader of this men's ministry. And I made a few changes in it. One of the things I did was adding to reflecting and meditating on the readings. I started getting the guys to start sharing their issues, their experiences, their problems, their joys, sharing things in their life, and very personal stuff. Things like being married and single, husband and father, parent and child, brother and friend, boss and employee. And interestingly, the group, all the sharing really added to the growth of everybody. And I found it was helping me as well, in addition to studying the Bible and the readings. And it got me thinking that my faith, all of a sudden, that I was starting to understand, I was starting to have a real relationship with God. It got me thinking that I would like to maybe do something with my talent and skills and whatever that, you know, that I could do to promote the Catholic Church. And my business for years has been the radio business. My specialty is finding, identifying, coaching, and developing radio personalities and great communicators all over the United States, Canada, and Great Britain. And so my first venture was to get involved with a group in San Diego that was trying to start a Catholic radio network. And some pretty high-powered people involved. Father Joseph Fessio, who was the founder of Ignatius Press, if you're familiar with them. Let me see, Tom Monahan, the founder of Domino's Pizza, and then the Archbishop of Denver at the time, Charles Chaput, or Chaput, I never pronounce his name correctly. And that turned out to be a super failure. But it caused me to learn a lot about what I wanted to do, how I needed to go about it, and whatever. And the big learning came when I went down to visit Mother Angelica at EWTN. I'd heard that she had developed this amazing TV station, shortwave radio station, and I wanted to know how she did it. And I'm going to grab some water here if I might.
Here, I'll just grab that.
Okay, on time, probably not. Yeah, you can cut me off anytime you're not going too long. So I learned that Mother Angelica had zero business experience, zero broadcast experience. And she and her order had been supporting themselves in their native state of Ohio by making fishing lures. But one day the Holy Spirit told her, Mother Angelica, you need to go start a shortwave radio station in Alabama. And so she did. And her only guidance was the Holy Spirit. She, whatever direction, whatever idea, she went down there dutifully and started this shortwave radio station at, by the way, a place in the world where all the great technical people said was the absolute worst place you could ever put a shortwave radio station. The signal wouldn't travel very far, is what they said. Turned out her signal went further than any other shortwave station in the world. Then she started EWTN, the TV network, which you're probably all familiar with. It's done extremely well. And I was there for 2 days. I heard story after story from her people about all these miracles that happened. You know, people would drive up, the nuns would pray every day at 9 o'clock, and limousines would show up with checks for $5 million. They ended up with better equipment than the networks, ABC, CBS, and NBC. They would come down and check out her stuff to see what the latest stuff was. Before I left, I spent an hour with her, and just to hear her story. And at the end, she says to me, young man, she says, tell me about your enterprise, this radio network. And I told her quickly, and she says bluntly and directly, if you've watched any of her, she's, you know, very straight talker. She said, young man, your enterprise is going to fail big time. And of course she was correct. And she said, the reason it'll fail is you're trying to serve two masters. You're trying to serve money and God. And that was true. So that just inspired me about how I should go about trying to figure out how to use my talents and skills. And I started, you know, looking for other opportunities. And 8 years ago, I moved here, and all of a sudden the opportunity just jumped right out at me. And it happened to be Father Len McMillan, who just blew me away when I met him. I'd never met anybody that was as effective at sharing the gospel, getting you excited about putting it into action, and making faith and religion accessible and interesting. And so I approached him about doing a radio show. And this was before podcasts started, and he liked the idea. And we talked about a whole bunch of other ideas too, none of which really worked out because of his time. He just didn't feel he had time. And then all of a sudden, podcasting burst on the scene. So we decided to start this podcast, which I thought really fit his personality and style and whatever. It's him answering questions about faith, religion, and life. And we started the podcast called The Wrestling with God Show, where we grapple with the big questions about faith, religion, and life. And lo and behold, it took off like we didn't either one of us expect. It's been that we started in March 2020. It's been downloaded over 50,000 times, has listeners in all 50 states, regular listeners. And this just inspired me to want to do more. So I formed this this little group, which is mainly me right now, called Wrestling with God Productions. And we're continuing to do the Wrestling with God show with Father Land. Unfortunately, we took a hiatus for 4 or 5 months while he was setting up his new parish in Coeur d'Alene, which turned out to be in pretty bad shape when he got there. He thought it was going to be much easier than this great big monster he was managing here. But that turned out to be not true. Anyway, we're back recording the podcast again. And we've got 2 other podcasts, one of which is up and running. I got Father Len to record all of his, what he called adult education classes and all of his homilies for the 8 years that I've known him. And we've got hundreds of hours of stuff. And the new podcast is called Life Lessons from Jesus and the Church He Founded, where I'm crafting together all of these hours of stuff into podcast length things. I think we've got 5 episodes up right now. Both those podcasts are available wherever you can get podcasts.
Can they see you?
And then I got to
I don't know
know
if they can
Father
see me or
Nathan
not.
Dale a little bit. And how many of you have met
Well,
Father
they,
Nathan?
they've got they've got him on the
Extraordinary
podium
young priest.
on the screen.
He's just amazing.
But if he's
And
not what he
I believe
believes,
he's
I
going to
probably
unearth
see
a
me.
lot of vocations around here.
No, just wait.
And he inspired me to kind of come up with an idea which I call a priest's life, where I interview priests about their journey to the priesthood, what it's like to be a priest, and what makes priesthood so rewarding and meaningful to them. And it's really candid stuff. I ask them tough questions. Because a lot of the stuff I've seen, you know, where people are talking about the priesthood, it's all kind of sugar-coated and candy-coated, and it's an easy thing and whatever. And I've only done 2 episodes, pilot episodes. They're only available at the Vocations website for the diocese. One of them is with Father Nathan Dale, the other one is with Father Land. And both of them, interestingly, had some real difficulty even getting into the priesthood. Like Father Len was turned down by a couple of vocation directors. They told him to, you know, go live his life. And Father Nathan had a little of the same thing. But one of the, and these are the kind of remarkable things that come out in this. One of the questions I asked Father Len, which just entertained the heck out of me, but made me realize how difficult all this is. I said, tell me a little bit about when you started telling people you wanted to become a priest. And he says, oh, that's a sad story, Irish. And I said, well, tell me about it. And he says, well, he said, my dad found out, or my sister found out that I'd made application to the seminary, so I knew I'd have to tell my dad. I didn't want him to hear it from anybody else. So I said, hey, Dad, I want to become a priest, and I've applied to the seminary. And Father Len said there was this big pause, and his dad said, that's a really bad idea, Len. You'll just become a drunk. That's kind of typical of how candid and personal and raw these interviews are, and they're entertaining and fun as well. So I'm here because I right now, for the past 2 years, this has been a totally do-it-yourself, volunteer, me do it all kind of in my spare time kind of thing. And my ideas are way bigger than that. And so I'm hoping to figure out how to, raise some money, maybe from businesses, maybe from individuals. I've never raised money for anything. I don't know exactly quite how to do it or what to do. I've been praying a lot about it. So that's the stage I'm in right now. And, if you guys have any ideas for me, people you could refer me to that, might be interested in helping me. I'm kind of semi-retired. I didn't plan very well for retirement, so I have to do some work. So I have to generate a little bit of money for this myself. And it takes a lot of time. Some of these episodes that I craft with Father Land from the hundreds of hours of stuff will take 12 or 14 hours. And I love doing it. It's the most meaningful and rewarding work I've ever done. We've gotten just some amazing responses from listeners, about the life-changing effects of the podcast. So anyway, that's why I'm here. If you guys have any questions for me or any ideas, I'll be here after you're done. And I'm sorry I took up so much time, but hopefully you didn't mind. Does anybody have any quick questions or anything that you'd want to share with me? Well, thank you very much for indulging me. You bet. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to move on to the financial secretary's report. Brother Darrell?
Pretty great night.
For dry night, council membership stands at 377 members. Our quota for this year is 15 new members, and we have one new member who came in last month. That was Bill Avey. Was Bill here today? Oh, I seen him earlier. So anyhow, we're at 7% of our goal for our membership for the year. Like to report, let's see, I've met with the treasurers and we have finished the council semi-annual audit. Everything is signed. It's due by the 15th of this month, so I will sign that and send that into Spring. And let's see, I think that's all. That's all we've got. Well, for that, we're going to go to the treasurer's report.
We can do it now. You're already recording.
Yeah, as long as I've got the microphone, I'm going to be recording for Brother Bruce, who's not here. I sent out the treasurer's report this few days ago. We did spend, Bruce and I spent some time last over 3 weeks, putting together a new format. So we found that we weren't really expressing all of our income or some of our expenses correctly, and we wanted to do a better job of showing the encumbered funds, and we wanted to do a better job at doing our budget for next year. So this is the format. It's not too different from the old format, but it is a little bit different. And I probably personally put in 4 to 6 hours just putting in all the formulas for this thing. So you only see the front page PDF, but there's it's an Excel spreadsheet, and all of the figures transfer from page to page to page and add up so that we can do the audit and things like that. So I hope you. I'm just going to go over briefly the highlights of. We have let's see, deposits of $1,045.54. Payments that went out of $1,528.44. We've got $28,699.78 in the checking account. We have encumbered funds from baby bottles of $12,321.69, leaving us with unencumbered funds of $16,528.09. If anybody has any questions, we're happy to answer them. Wait there night.
Thank you, Brother Darrell. He just gave the treasurer's report for Brother Bruce, who's not here now. So, all right, I'd like to move on to the Life Committee report, Brother Joe James.
Okay, just a reminder, this third Saturday, August the 20th, we'll have a mass at Planned Parenthood. It's going to start earlier than normal because it's going to be hot. So it's going to start at 9 a.m. Rosary will be at 8:30. And we'll line up with Jerry's neighbor that's going to leave it, get the yard cleaned up for it. And then last week, we had one person for Planned Parenthood for the Rosary anniversary. So your participation is encouraged. It's good to see everybody take part in this. It's beautiful cars, and we're fighting the battle, and we're getting there slowly, but we still got a long way to go.
Thank you, Brother Joe. So the numbers, we do the Divine Mercy, and we also get there a little bit early and pray the Rosary with Karen Simpson and 40 Days for Life in front of Planned Parenthood. It's always the third Saturday of the month. And I believe the rosary starts at 9:30, correct?
Well, it's gonna move back to.
Well, I'm just saying for
Oh,
future
yeah.
reference, when we say the rosary,
Right,
so.
right.
So, yeah, this, the mass on the 20th is gonna replace the saying of the rosary and the divine mercy. But we will be saying the rosary 8:30 before the mass and then present the mass, so. Please support that and continue to support the divine mercy every third Saturday. After that, we appreciate that. Anything else to report? Okay. All right, I'd like to move on to the membership committee report. Brother Ken, since Ray Hinson is not here, would you be able to give us a brief report of the membership?
Really grand night. Unfortunately, I will not be able to, so Ray was supposed to be back. But I don't know where he is.
Yeah, he just emailed me. He's on vacation somewhere nice, I think. Brother Ford.
Really grand night. I can just report on one thing. I can just report that we have our next ceremonial, the combined degree, is going to be on Thursday, the 18th of August at 6:45 in the day chapel. And one thing that we really could use is just some more nights to be there. We pretty much have the team that's there, and then we have the candidate, and then we usually have one field agent. Sometimes we have a state officer there. Well, actually, we do have one now every time because Ken is there, but for the most part, we could really use some support from the council. We want to really impress upon those candidates and their families that they've made the right decision, that we start fraternity the same time we start retention. And I would encourage you men to attend one of those combined degrees, especially if you haven't seen the new degree. It's absolutely beautiful. So I would just ask you really grand night to impress upon the council to have a greater presence at the combined degree. The next degree is on Thursday, the 18th at 6:45 in the day chapel.
So always the third Thursday of the month in the day chapel in the evening. So please keep that in mind. It is a great ceremony. I am a part of it most of the time. I didn't go last time, but did we not have a new member? Just one? Okay. What was his name?
Bill Avey.
Bill Avey?
Bill
Okay.
Avey.
The one that Daryl reported on? Okay. So we still have new members, they go to these, so it's great to, if you do go to them, you're gonna know the new members, and they can help you feel at home and stuff like that.
And it's also an opportunity that if you are, also an opportunity if you're a first or second degree, you can advance to the third degree and learn that third lesson. But the third lesson is that of fraternity. And, our lessons are the same as our principles: charity, unity, fraternity. And the three lessons that we teach on are integral to who and what the Knights of Columbus are.
Yeah, we have some great speakers, and they get through all three: the charity, unity, and fraternity. So it's really good, and it's only 45 minutes, and it's a great thing to attend if you haven't done it in the past. So this is not for the point.
No.
No, this is for the third degree, first, second, and third degree. All right. We'll move on to the community committee report. Brother Fred, please give your report.
Thank you, Mayor. The community committee, we're gonna again break it up to our reports of the Corpus Christi House and with Brother Mike Newell, and the blood drive with Brother Joe Cardona. I'll report on the leaving no neighbor behind. We are working through our roster, and we have completed contacting or attempting to contact Brother Knights who are 80 years of age or older. This month in August, we will be doing Knights ages 75 and older. And I know some of you in the room fit that category, so we'll be contacting you hopefully soon. We're getting good. The folks we do contact, the those we are able to get a hold of, are very appreciative and grateful for the call. We are always looking for fellow Knights to help make phone calls smaller. So, see me afterwards or sign up on the website if you're interested. We appreciate that. And I will turn it over now to, Mike. Any questions for me, about the zoning plan?
Brett, excuse me, again, I just want to say, we've had a good week. Things are starting to slow down with the nation, but all of a sudden, the bid's filling up again very well, and it's, as soon as, Brother Joe has put that new sign on the bid, second sign in Corpus Christi, where it's at. So now we got it covered from all angles, you can't miss it. And, we had a really good week, we had like a bid and a half this week, tons of stuff that's going out there. And they're making it a little bit more orderly out there. They've done an improvement in terms of providing some additional space for the clothing to go to. So now there's that longer racks and a little more private area. You know, you see a young man get up there at about 20 years old and he's just in his shorts, and he's looking for clothes for the day. He's just trying to pick stuff off. I'm trying to give the guy or lady, a little bit of privacy so they actually achieve that. And they moved some of that clutter that was in the main room out of there so people can enjoy the camaraderie, at least the fellowship there. So I think they're really trying hard to do a good job. We're going to do our best to try and get the clothes down to. So I appreciate the continued support. The one other thing that they've asked for is for a little bit of medical kits, personal medical kits, some large Band-Aids, gauze, pads, ACE wraps, self-adhesive wraps, things like that to help take care of the wounds. We're going to look at building little packets of that one way or another and put that into the mix and maybe ask that through the parishioners as well, like we do in our bowl. So but you're looking for that. And I'm very pleased to say we have now a team of 6 drivers, and that is Ted Salvador got checked out this past month. We also now have Doug Foy. I'm not sure of his last name. But anyways, he said he's going to help. So 6 drivers is really good. There's a lot of back and forth, and you got to load up and unload it, and it's a lot of driving. So I appreciate the generous support of everybody who's trying to participate. And I think the last thing is we're going to try and have an opportunity to announce if you want to go down and look at the place, get an idea of how they do this, and want to be familiar with what our work actually results in. We'd be glad to take down 3 or 4 people at a time and do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the blood drive was successful. We exceeded goal by 3 units. We had 77 slots available, 76 were filled, and unfortunately, we had 10 no-shows, and that really hurts because when people don't no-show, then there are others that wanted to give but were turned away. And what's unusual, because I get a little bit of double talk from my Red Cross coordinator, is, oh yeah, we can take walk-ins. Well, I took nights and other people, I snuck them in for the no-shows. And like everywhere else, organizations are suffering with manning and not having the manning that they need. But regardless, what you need to know is that for every unit of blood, 69, for every unit of blood, that takes care of 2 people. Something really in terms of benefit from all of this is the number of people, non-Catholic, that love coming here to get taken care of blood drive. They'd rather come here than drive downtown, struggle finding a parking place, and they're in tight quarters if you ever been to the blood drive downtown. And they love having blood draws on a Saturday. So what we did, just kind of thinking ahead for the year, which we have 4 blood drives, next one, 17 October, is have 2 on a Monday, a business day, and 2 on a Saturday. And that was really a big winner for us as far as people coming. And why? Because they work and they want to get blood. So, it really was very successful. Of course, couldn't have done it without my 12 volunteers that help with escorting patients from the drawing table to getting nourishment and then out the door. So it really is a good thing for us, and it literally saves lives. And many times there's question whether the blood can go overseas, and it cannot. It can go around the country. When you get blood, that's how you get your blood. Well, they'll send you a report on what your unit of blood would serve. And a lot of time might be a child or someone in another state. We did so well. This is like a trophy. So, upper level hat, we were given, and upper level t-shirt we were given for our main workers with blood drive. Just hold that for a second. Because I got a funny story. This was the shirt that they gave blood donors. So, Pastor Navigator, Chuck and I are standing there. And so on one table, this is the shirt we give blood donors. This is the shirt we give our workers with the hat. And this gal comes out with donor. And she did not grab the shirt. She said, "This hat is really great." And she's going out the door. And Chuck and I look at each other. Oh, we better clear that table. But it was another successful event. I left my little receipts over at the table. Yeah, thank you. So, that's it.
Very good.
Oh, well, we're doing a little bulletin feedback on the success of the blood drive. But in addition, we're as delicately as possible talking about no-shows and how it impacts and this opportunity for somebody else. I just can't believe it, you know, 10 people. So, anyway, that's my.
Thank you, Brother Joe. All right, so one of our most active committees is the community committee. As you can see, they do a lot of stuff. So between Corpus Christi, the blood drives, you know, and a lot of other events, they're working all the time. Leave no neighbor behind is really huge, and they always can use some extra help. So if you do have a couple hours a month and you're able to help them out, please contact one of those guys at that table and offer your assistance. I'm sure they're going to really appreciate it. So, all right, with that, I want to move on to our worthy district deputy report, Brother Corey.
Thank you, brothers. It's good to see you again. As I say frequently when I come here, it is truly a pleasure to come to this council. I feel at home here. I mean, this is my church home, but it's also home, you know, where I sort of get my greatest strength. You know, sometimes it's nice to be able to retreat back to your home just for your kind of plug in and just to kind of maybe plug into your solar system a little bit or plug into your solar panels. And I just really appreciate that every time I can come and just have an opportunity just to absorb your energy and absorb what you do here to make a difference, not only in your church, but in your community and in your families. And I just thank you for that opportunity to be a part of it. So a couple things I want to impress upon you is the last time I was here, I was able to present you with your Life Award. And I know that this coming weekend, the 6th and the 7th, is your ministry fair. And I would encourage you, Worthy Grand Night, as well as this council, to make sure that that Life Award is out. Make sure that it's at your table when you have parishioners come by to look at the Knights of Columbus and see what it is that we are and who we identify ourselves to be. Because that award is not only yours and what you did and how you used the generous gifts of this parish, but it's also this parish's award. Because without them and their donations to the baby bottles and that sort of thing, you would not have been able to turn that money over to the state with respect to the ultrasound initiative and making a difference in those 5 different pregnancy care centers, PATH and Stanton and Birthright and Right to Life Idaho and that sort of thing. So I just really encourage you to make sure that that's present out there. As was mentioned by your financial secretary, your audit is due on the 15th. Thank you for getting your 2 forms done. Your Form 185, which is your officers chosen, as well as your 365. If you could get a soft copy of that to me, I haven't received one of those from you. So if you could just go to the print center and print those off and just send them to me, I'd appreciate it, Daryl. Or if you can, either one of you, that'd be great. I just want to also remind you that this month of August is our Founders Feast Day. We are privileged to celebrate the second memorial or the feast day of Blessed Michael McGivney on Saturday, August 13th. This day falls between Father McGivney's birthday and Father McGivney's day that he entered into eternal rest, which was the 14th of August. And that gives us 3 days to meditate on Father McGivney's life. It gives us an opportunity to reflect upon his mission, his vision that he had for the Knights of Columbus, also that he had to make a difference, not only in his parish, but how he took his thoughts or his encouragement of the Holy Spirit and actually made the Knights of Columbus and founded it and brought it about in the basement of St. Mary's Church in 1882. And I would encourage you to, reflect upon the gospel. It's Matthew chapter 5, verses 3 through 12. And it's St. Matthew's account of the Beatitudes, and it talks specifically about blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of God. That was one of the most important biblical passages that Father McGivney reflected upon, especially when he was thinking about the Knights of Columbus. One thing that you and your families could do, or even within this council, I know that you've planned out most of your activities for what's happening already in the month of August. But one thing that you could do is just pray the novena to the Blessed Michael McGivney. Anybody can access this novena. If you just go to kfc.org and then there's a red square on there that just says 4 members, and there's a search function. And if you just go in there and either put in the number 11122, or just put in the novena to Blessed Michael McGivney, that novena will come up. And I would encourage you to pray that with the rest of the brothers and their families, not only within the district, but also within the state. We're going to be praying that starting on the 4th of August through the 13th, which is actually Father McGivney's feast day. And I just really encourage you to reflect upon that. I just want to leave you with an example of something that I've been thinking a lot about. Every summer and every winter, I have my district meeting where I invite your council leaders, as well as the other leaders that are throughout the district, to come to the district meeting and to learn about the new changes that are coming about with the Knights of Columbus, and also just how we're going to united get through this fraternal year. And I just wanted to share with you kind of the theme of this summer's district meeting. And it talks about what a council is and what relationships are. A council needs to be a group of men and their families charitably serving together and building relationships with one another. A relationship builds trust, trust builds confidence, and confidence leads to strength in numbers, which is unity, brothers. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right. I'd like to move to the 4th degree report of faithful navigator, Brother Joe Cordona.
Well, you get to hear a lot of it tonight. I'm just gonna, a lot of this is already heard, but what's important. Tonight, John Burns, funeral mass being on the 8th, rosary 10:30, funeral mass at 11. Then there's Deacon Francis Hess, rosary at 10:30, funeral mass at 11. But that's at St. Mary's. And I like making sure, particularly color corps and your brothers, that we participate in the clergy's funerals, because they do a lot. And besides all families appreciating our attendance, the clergy sometimes don't get feedback that what they do is very much appreciated. And I would almost say, with no disrespect, if it wasn't for our deacons, the Catholic Church should be in the world of hurt. They do a lot and they do it free of charge. So I'm just really partial to supporting our people. So again, Deacon Francis has August 9th at St. Mary's. Another thing I want to talk about the pro-life, mass got moved. Thank you, Dr. Manuel, for moving it to 9 o'clock just because of the weather and temperature. It just made sense in a way to protect our residents to just have it at 9 o'clock. For us, with what's going on in the world, Boise doesn't seem to be too bad. But as we have an outdoor mass, particularly pro-life, I always just a little worried about protesters and so on and so forth. So there was a rule. We have 3 nights that are on the security ministry, and that came in the state newsletter. That Supreme them like or prefer to have nights on security. Church security is becoming really big across the country, not just in. And so with that, if a night chooses to be in the faith ministry, in the security ministry, then they can't have anything on the apparel badge that says the Knights of Columbus, and I'm okay with that. So when I'm doing security, I'm doing security. And so just to make sure things are safe, there's no problem. Although we will have colorful there at pro-life mass at Stan, I'll be doing security to watch over that. And then just to let you know that our color court team had 5 support requests in the month of August and before the 20th, so at least 11 more days for requests. So we're a valued resource. So that's everything.
Thank you, Brother Joe. So please consider joining the Color Corps if you're a 4th degree member. If you're a 3rd degree member, please consider joining the 4th degree and joining the Color Corps. All right. With that, I'd like to move on to new business. The first line item is going to be the budget. We had a amendment to the budget, a single line item change. If we could pull that up. We didn't match, and Brother Darrell will kind of explain it, what we changed. If we could kind of get it up on the board and we'll scroll. I want to look at the person who's going to be under fundraisers.
Yeah, the only change is that under our FBOs. So our FBOs are intended to not be a moneymaker for the council. So it's a net zero proposition. We give everything to the entity that we're donating to, minus our expenses. So on the budget, we wanted to reflect that. And on the last budget that we approved last month, we were showing a profit of $7,000 because the expenses didn't equal the income. And so that's all we fixed on this one. If you go down to the red part in the expenses, you'll see that the expenses for our FBOs are now $23,700. Our projected income is the same amount, $23,700. And we wanted that to little change to be reflected on this year's budget, and then have a motion to accept this and move on to other people. Yeah, it's down. Yeah, it's down there at the very bottom. So FBO expenses 23,700 equals the income, which is up at the top in green.
Yeah, we didn't have that correct when we first passed it. So that's the only line item change. So this will be the new budget with the amendment. Is there any questions on this? Joe?
So we're still gonna have our meeting on the.
Yes, our meeting will still be on the 10th between the council and the assembly for funds. Yes, still happening. Brother Tom,
I make a motion that we approve the
amendment.
amendments to the budget.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. And third, is that what you want to say?
Second.
Was there a question or was that just second? Okay. All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion is passed. This will be the current budget for the fiscal year 22 to 23. All right. That moves me to the second agenda item. This weekend is the Ministries Fair. We need volunteers to man the table after each mass and set up and take down. Please, if you're interested, come see me afterwards and we'll get you lined up. We do need some help. I don't want to rely on one person to do the whole thing after every single mass. I think that's what happened last year. So actually we had two, didn't we? Maybe we had two guys. So please come see me afterwards and we'll get you signed up and get you working at the table. I have one more thing to present to Father Emmanuel. I have your honorary life membership card, your gold card for the Knights of Columbus. If you want to come up, I'll give this to you. Okay, one more line item that I didn't have in the new business agenda for this month. I'd like to call, we're going to talk a little bit about the wheels and some repairs on the barbecue just for the wheels right now. Brother Tom Sorney.
Earlier that night, I received quotes to get new tires and have the wheel bearings back that resealed on the grill. We could do that for, I got 4 quotes from local dealers around the area. We could do that for about $300. So I would make the motion that we go ahead and take those repairs.
Okay, so do you have a specific quote from Big O, I believe?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I say that we just go with the Big O. If you could read those numbers for the, I'd like to get the bearings pack too, because I don't think they've ever been done.
That's $160 for the new tires and $140 for the wheel bearings.
All right, so that is a motion. Did you make a motion?
Second.
Okay, a motion and seconded. This is something that needs to be done, so is there any other discussion on this before we go to a vote? Brother Robert?
I have the results, so I need to request it now.
We're kind of not replacing it yet. It's still in pretty good shape, even though it's a little bit warped. We don't have any missing pieces. As long as we could keep some, even the support braces are pretty sturdy, but as we go farther down the road, we'll kind of take a look at that maybe at the end of the summer season after we use it a few more times and see. But for now, it's just going to be the tires and the bearings that we pack. So, all right. So all those, any other discussion on this before we move to a vote? All right. With that, I'd like to say all those in favor of repairing, replacing the tires and getting the wheels back for a total of $300. I'm assuming there's tax on that, so it may go over a little bit more. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion has been passed. We will get those repaired. All right, any unfinished business at this time to report? All right. I'd like to call for the good of the order. Is there anything for the good of the order? Rich?
Please prayers for Tony Fuglitti's wife, Reba. They're still hung up down in Arizona. She can't travel at all, so they didn't even bother coming up this year. We may never see him again, I don't know. But she's in rough shape.
Okay. It's Tony Fuglitti's wife, Reba. Is there anything else for the good of the order?
I have two things that I'd like to bring before the council for the good of the order. The first is for one of our members. His name is Eddie Johnson. His wife, Debbie Johnson, came up to me after the 5 o'clock mass this past weekend and asked that we be praying for her husband, Eddie. Eddie's not a very active member in our council, but he is. He does show up whenever we do our VA Carol, and he's a chef over there at the VA. And Eddie has, he's been experiencing some problems with his body after he got some of the vaccine shot for COVID-19. And he hasn't worked since January. And because of that, it's, you know, his job might be in jeopardy. And so he's trying to get better, but he's been really fighting that. So Debbie and Eddie have asked us for prayers for him. The second thing that I asked you guys for prayers for is the Supreme Convention is going on. It's in Nashville, Tennessee this year. If you go to kfc.org, you can actually follow the convention online. You can also follow it on WTN. There's other replays of the convention, but we have some delegates from Idaho that are there. Our current seated state deputy, George Messina, and his wife Maggie are there. Pray for them. Also for our past state deputy, Roy Bartholomew, and his wife Darcy, they're there. And then our former Supreme Director, Brian Seimer, and his wife Cheryl are there. So I would ask prayers for those three couples and just for the Supreme Convention as a whole. As much as the United States is going through changes, the Knights of Columbus are going through a lot of changes as well. Our Supreme Knight, Patrick Kelly, is actually starting his second fraternal year as Supreme Knight, so he could definitely use prayers. But just keep the Supreme Council in your prayers as they try and get through this convention. I think it's the 140th convention, and a lot of things are going to be coming out of this that I think you're going to be proud to witness when it comes to the Knights of Columbus. And I'll be happy to share those with you once they become available to me. So thank you again.
Thank you, Brother Corey. Is there anything else for the good of the order? I have one thank you note, Brother James Pavlik.
Thank you very much.
Read it out for us.
So we have received a thank you letter from the church. I'll just read it. It says, "Dear Knights, thank you so very much for providing food for not one, but two LDFT presentations. The people who attended had nothing but good things to say. You all went above and beyond by doing the setup and much of the cleanup. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yours in Christ, Naomi, Sandra. Sorry, it's cursive and they don't teach that at school, so. You guys are on today. So I will take a photo of this and post that on.
James, we have a second thank you letter. I'm gonna read the whole thing, please.
Okay, so
It's quite lengthy.
we have another thank you letter from Treasure Valley Path. It's quite lengthy.
Thanking us for our donation.
Holy Spirit Council members, thank you so much for your support. The path over the past few years, I would love to an opportunity to meet in person and come back or come speak with your group about our plans in the days ahead. Blessings, Tracy. And then I'll copy this and put it on my report so you guys can read it there.
Thank you. All right, With that, I'd like to call on Father Emmanuel, if you could please offer us a closing prayer and invoke the divine blessing. Please stand or kneel.
Lord our Father, we thank you for the blessings this evening, for the success of our meeting. As we retire to our respective homes this evening, send the Holy Spirit to go before us. Continue to strengthen our faith. Give us the grace to continue to be your witnesses in our world today, to be ambassadors of peace, to be ambassadors of your word for everyone around us. We ask you to bless us and to spread to us the grace through Christ our Lord. Amen. The Lord be with you. The Almighty God bless you, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Peace with you.
With that, I declare this meeting adjourned. Please come see me for if you want to volunteer for this weekend.